As you know, the mission of the Urban League of Rochester is to enable African American, Latinx, the poor, and other disadvantaged individuals to secure economic self-reliance, parity in power, and civil rights. Today, the Urban League of Rochester offers over 25 programs and youth services for individuals with developmental disabilities, economic development, equity and advocacy employment services, family and children services, education, workforce development, home ownership, and entrepreneurial assistance. In 2022 and 23 fiscal year, over 25,000 community members benefited from our diverse programming. At this time, I would like to call the 58th annual meeting of members of the Board of Directors of the Urban League of Rochester to order. The bylaws require that at least 10% of the membership pool must be present in person or by proxy in order to conduct the annual meeting. Corresponding Secretary Reverend Blue, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have been advised that a quorum is present, so this meeting may proceed. So thank you. The minutes for the 58th or the 57th annual meeting can be found in the chat. Please take a few minutes to review the minutes.
They're not there yet. I'm working on that.
Okay.
There we go.
No, I said already. My last
I will now entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as presented.
I make a motion to approve the 57th annual meeting minutes from April 26, 2022.
I second the motion.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed may signify by saying no. Hearing none, the motion is approved. At this time, I will call upon Portia James, Chairperson of the Nominating Committee, to present the slate of candidates who are being proposed for the Board of Directors.
Thank you, Dr. Gant. For re-election to a one-year term ending in April 2024, Talithia Best. For re-election to a two-year term ending April 2025, we have Dr. Sim Jonathan Covington Jr., John Rammerman, and Stuart Mitchell. For re-election to a three-year term ending in April 2026, we have George Opira and Joseph Searles. This concludes the slate of candidates who are being proposed for the Board of Directors.
Thank you, Ms. James. I now remind the members that nominations from the floor are not in order as specified in Article 9 of the Urban League's bylaws. Therefore, I will not entertain a motion to instruct the secretary to cast, I will now entertain a motion to instruct the secretary to cast one unanimous ballot for all nominees.
I move the election of all nominees as presented on this slate.
I second the motion.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. As members have previously submitted their votes of support by proxy, the recording secretary shall cast one unanimous ballot for all nominees. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed may signify by saying no. Hearing none, the motion is approved. I would like to congratulate our new directors or our returning directors who will be joining the board. We're looking forward to working with you and to putting your talent to work. The Urban League is one of the community's most important assets, and many citizens look to it for leadership and service. I know that your contributions will enhance the league's fine work. To those of my colleagues who have been reelected, we gratefully appreciate your willingness to remain on the board. We will continue to value your input and contributions. At this time, I would like to call on Dr. Hawkins, President and CEO of the Urban League of Rochester, to give the president's report.
Thank you, Dr. Gant, and I am delighted to be with you all today, and congratulations to the board members for their reelection. I'm excited because in 2025, the Urban League will be celebrating 60 years serving the greater Rochester community. The Urban League is a civil rights and advocacy and social services organization, and Dr. Gant already shared the mission of the Urban League, but I just want to detail just a couple of things on our mission. And really, we have a four-pronged approach to pursuing our mission. And I'd like to share that with you. I'll wait for Jamie to pull that up. And so of our four-pronged approach, approach one is ensuring that our children are well-educated and equipped for economic self-reliance in the 21st century. Two, helping adults attain economic self-sufficiency through good jobs, home ownership, and entrepreneurship, and wealth accumulation. And three, ensuring our civil rights by eradicating any barriers to participation and ensuring that all of our staff are provided the tools to educate, advocate, and fulfill the mission. And so thank you to the Urban League of Rochester Board and the subsidiary board of the Economic Development Corporation. I am grateful for the support and honored to have served the Urban League as its president and CEO for the last 4 years. I want to thank every member for his support of the Urban League and every pastor and congregation that prayed for the Urban League and its leadership. For several years, we established the importance of beginning our new year with prayer and invited area pastors to help the league begin the year with prayer and covering. And thank you to all the pastors that joined us this year and prayed for the Urban League's strength and success. It is our members that support us during the tough times and good times. Let me share the staff. So on the next slide, you'll see our staff. And I'm really proud of our team because 2023 has certainly been a time of challenge and growth. We secured over $11 million in new funding in 2022, which is pretty impressive. We were challenged by a reduced workforce and serious transition in our finance department as our staff leaned in and worked harder than ever before, and I'm grateful for that team. We strengthened our leadership team with the hiring of talented executive leaders, and we utilized the skills of consultants to help us in other areas so that the team could focus on our strategic framework. I want to share the framework now. On the screen, you see that there are 4 areas of strategic priorities for 2022 and 2023. I want to review a few examples of how we've begun to accomplish successes in these areas. So in the area of economic mobility, we expected to leverage our relationships with current and potential providers to increase opportunities for wealth accumulation through home ownership and entrepreneurship. And by June of 22, all 41 of the Economic Development Corporation's residents moved into L2P West Side. And that is New York State's first lease to purchase model, 41 newly constructed housing. We thank the Cleveland Housing Network for leading the way in providing a model for alternative pathways to home ownership. L2P2 is a $13 million investment in Rochester, New York. And just as a sneak peek, we are in process of L2P2 right now. In support of entrepreneurship in the area of economic mobility, The Urban League opens up Rochester's first women's business center powered by the SBA to support entrepreneurs or fempreneurs. And you'll hear more about that from our Senior VP of Entrepreneurship and Wealth Building, Tiffany Owens. In the area of systemic racism, we are to create a comprehensive business plan for providing diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And here are some of the ways that we've been working on that. First, the third annual Interrupt Racism Summit was held last year in combination with the National Urban League's 21 Pillars of Safety. If you remember, Mark Morial and the Urban League team came to Rochester, and we served more than 1,000 people in our 2-day hybrid summit. Also in 2022, the Urban League was appointed by the city and county to lead change. We were appointed as the successor body to guide the implementation phase to actualize the RAISE recommendations that were written in the RAISE report. Now, interestingly, the report was co-authored by former Urban League CEO, Mayor William Johnson. In the area of education, it's to increase students' access to ULR's existing academic support programs by developing and embracing a fully hybrid model for program delivery. And we have grown exponentially in this area. We've grown from serving 45 students to serving more than 350 students. We have embraced virtual and hybrid environments, and we are grateful to our relationships with Rochester City School District, Nazareth College, Rochester Institute of Technology, MCC, Goodwill of the Finger Lakes, and Goodwill of the Finger Lakes, to name a few. And we hope to see you all at RIT on June 5th to celebrate our Black scholars. In the area of public health, is to create a multi-year technology and relationship-based public health outreach and services initiatives in partnership with one or more health providers to improve awareness, education, and access to services. Now, public health is our space because we know that racism is a public health crisis. The Urban League of Rochester is one of 9 founding members of the Racism is a Public Health Crisis Coalition. The Urban League, through its support from the Rochester Works, has been able to offer gun violence prevention programs. And you will learn from John Compton how that work has been expanded in 2023. You will also hear from Dr. Lucas about the Urban League work in the area of equity and advocacy. Now, notably, the Urban League has been recognized by the CDC and White House for our work to educate about COVID-19. And I'd like to share a video that highlights our work.
Okay, let's see here. Oh. Sorry, bear with me for just a minute here.
It's okay. We're all excited with anticipation of the video. Don't worry.
Maybe I should have practiced that audio one more time. I just want to make sure that you can all hear it. Share sound. No. Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear it?
Perfect. The Urban League of Rochester has been serving the greater Rochester community since 1965. And we've been serving the community by providing access to good jobs, home ownership, entrepreneurship, and a pathway to wealth accumulation. The Urban League of Rochester's response to the COVID-19 crisis was one of swift action.
We would send masks to our clients, gloves. When they started distributing in-home testing, we made sure that we sent them the in-home testing, those that could manage it on their own. I mean, there's been times when I literally sat on the phone and basically walked someone through taking a COVID test.
When the vaccines first came out, it was about getting the word out, and the barriers were, first of all, we have to work through the fear, especially when you're talking to Black people. I'm going to nail it to that for a moment, simply because of our history with the medical community in this country. So the first thing was trying to get through that barrier, the fear, and then was trying to find Where were the shots? How do we get the word? And how do you get there? We were able to partner with Trillium Health. We were able to have them bring their mobile unit so individuals could get shots, getting tested and all of that. So we gave out gift cards, for example, with Wegmans Foods. We had gift cards.
We really knew that the community that we serve, our Black and Brown communities, needed to be prioritized. And we learned that quickly on. We certainly saw that individuals of color needed to be prioritized, and we're not.
And so we know as a history as Black Americans in this country, it has not been equitable, even though we had the passing of the Civil Rights Law to make things equal, but yet still not equitable. And so we do a variety of trainings, not just from a year long. We do 1 week, 2 days, 1 day, lunch and learns. And we have this thing we call becoming an interrupter. So I consider myself an interrupter/disruptor. Overall, we're looking to even make our local greater Rochester, New York community a more equitable community.
The Urban League of Rochester is part of the Racism is a Public Health Crisis Coalition. We are building a coalition of community members to advance the recommendations to create a more equitable Rochester.
And so our inaugural coalition started with the strategy of bringing forth agencies and organizations that were grounded in the work to eradicate racism and that serve Black and Brown populations. And we invited 9 organizations in. They were inaugural organizations for the Coalition of Racism as a Public Health Crisis. We believe that if we took all of those shared missions and built them into a coalition, is that we could address some of the key factors that make these disparities remain disparities. Advocating together, taking our collective budgets, our collective acumen, our collective advocacies, and joining those together, we see that as a win. There's always a need for the community to come together in a form of unity.
We are, in a lot of ways, in a sense, we are boots on the ground. And we can have outreach workers where hospitals and clinics cannot. I like to say that sometimes we can go behind enemy lines and get a word in. Because first of all, we're a civil rights organization, which means we're built and going behind enemy lines to set the record straight and to straighten out what's been overlooked, to be able to make that difference where, let's just face it, a primarily white institution cannot.
This is my work, period. That's all I need to know, that this is our work. This work is important. And our communities, Black and Brown, specifically Black and Brown people, have to be prioritized. I've seen what has happened locally, nationally, globally, when we're not prioritized, when we're not put at the forefront, and when no one creates an open door for access. We've seen that, and that continues on. If you don't have organizations like Urban League of Rochester, then our people are in danger, and we cannot have that. And that keeps me motivated to ensure that my people that I serve, my community, is prioritized and protected and educated. Thank you. And we're grateful to Trillium Health for their partnership in helping us with COVID-19 vaccines. Right now, I'd like to invite our leadership team to share more about our growth in 2022. So please welcome Dr. Wanda Cooper, Chief Operations Officer at the Urban League of Rochester. And on the screen, you see all of our leadership team presenters and that will be presenting. But right now, we will welcome Dr. Wanda Cooper.
Hola, everyone, and thank you for your time today. Excited to, I know I presented to you all earlier this month. So this is just a recap, but I'm very excited that we have spent quite a large amount of our time really making sure that we focus on our operational efficiencies, making sure that we're establishing and reestablishing, because after COVID, some of our policies and procedures kind of went to the wayside. So reestablishing policies and procedures to ensure efficiencies across all job functions, making sure that we understand what the new work is, as well as how can we perform the work in an efficient manner. The other thing that we've been really focusing on is our employee experience. We want to ensure a positive employee experience to all. We want to make sure that they're satisfied, and we want to see our retention numbers stay high, as well as our productivity. But we also are looking at what are the common factors of burnout and how can we mitigate those? And one of the common factors of burnout is lack of procedural knowledge. When you don't know how to do the work, it gets very stressful and it decreases your satisfaction and productivity. So our leadership team has really taken a deep dive to ensure that our staff understand what they're charged with, and what should they be, how to do the work to meet the goal. And then the other thing that we're focusing on is ensuring that we have a sound fiscal management process. And it's not just our leaders knowing our budgets and knowing how that works, but it's everyone, all staff being knowledgeable about what the program budget is and how their role affects our program budget. Also making sure that we have a standardized process for accurate and timely vouchering, ensuring that everyone understands that fiscal management starts at the program level and we hand it off to finance to finish off the job and ensure that we realize all the revenue that is owed to us. I'm also working with our new HR Works consultants to ensure that we are building on our HR policies and ensuring that all of our information is accurate and easily accessible for the employee as well as the supervisors. I am going to hand it off now to our IT management guru, Gary Henry.
Hello, my name is Gary Henry. I'm the manager of IT facilities and procurement. We've done a lot of things in 2022, but these are just some of the highlights that happened in 2022. We have successfully inventoried all of our IT assets, both mobile and server assets. We have a plan in place for managing and upgrading those assets, including user and device tracking. We have increased our cybersecurity posture using Microsoft tools. This includes device encryption, Microsoft 365 user management, and enrolling all of our devices into Azure and Intune for remote management as well. We've streamlined our IT support, brought it in-house so we can more greatly support our users within the organization. We have new facility support staff so we can meet organizational needs and bring about building improvements. We also have a plan in place to improve the physical security measures of the building. We're going to be upgrading more things as we go along, but in 2022, we have streamlined our physical security. We have implemented numerous facilities improvements as well as moving in the RWBC. We're moving departments around. We move business development down to the first floor, and we're still in the process of upgrading our facilities. With that being said, I'm going to pass it on over to Ann, the head of our research department.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Program Planning, Research, and Evaluation Department works collaboratively with all of our programs to sustain and strategically expand our programming. We do this through getting grants as well as supporting the programs once the grants are received. In the last fiscal year, we were able to raise over $11 million in grants. This included several multi-year grants for new programs within our Education and Youth Services Division, our Business Development Division, and our Workforce Development Division, as well as support for our other divisions. We'll pass it on now to Jonathan Compton, our Workforce Division Director.
Thank you, Ann. Hi, everybody. So just a couple of highlights from the Workforce Development Division over the past year. So as noted on Ann's slide, we've secured a little more than $8 million in funding from various different funding sources. And within that, we've been able to serve over 350 program participants in those various programs, while continuing to develop and grow partnerships in the community, whether that's with employers we work with, training providers that provide vocational training for our students. I also wanted to highlight our partnership with Pathways to Peace in the city of Rochester to provide violence intervention and conflict resolution training to some of our young adult participants to help in the process of kind of alleviating some of the ongoing violence that we see in the community. So happy about that partnership and continuing to grow that partnership with them. And so next I would like to introduce Tiffany Owens.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, John, for that overview of the highlights from the Workforce Development team. As John stated, my name is Tiffany Owens, and I have the honor of working with Workforce Development and Business Development. I began work with Workforce Development in January and can attest to the dedication each team member has to the purpose-driven work. I commend John on creating an environment, an example of meeting people where they are and working toward providing our clients with the resources available to improve their employment opportunities and ability to better support themselves and their families. Along with that, the access to the training that they receive, our collaborative partners also provide life skills that are invaluable to the participants. After touring the site of one of the training centers, it became very clear how needed these resources are. There was a spirit of community among the individuals in the training class that was gratifying to observe. It explained the fire that burns with John and team to continue this work with the passion demonstrated to date, and the inability at times to turn down opportunities for expansion. We are collectively working to ensure we grow at a pace that guarantees more success in quality delivery and sustainability for all parties, both clients and staff. Along with workforce development, I work with business development, and we focus on review of resources, operational efficiencies, and strategy. The resource review led to the addition of staff to our RWBC. We have Ebony Henderson, who is the director of Rock Women's Business Center, who you will hear from shortly. In addition to reviewing the staffing model, we looked at where our programs are served out of, what location. And we determined that it was best to bring our WC back home. So Rock Women's Business Center has moved from Platt Street to North Clinton. And why that move, you might ask? It actually works very well with the plan to combine both Rock Women's Business Center's resource as well as our Entrepreneur Assistance Center, and have Ebony work along with the director, Mazi, and leaning into all of those resources and providing the best possible experiences to the clients that we serve. In addition to that, we looked at how we could make this space more welcoming and effective and known and seen, viewed as a business hub for our clients. And you'll note in the slides that are before you, there's some artwork that's on the walls. So we're leaning into our art community and asking them to partner with us. They're bringing those pieces into our center on loan with Urban League of Rochester, and we are able to sell the pieces, and part of the proceeds will come to the Urban League of Rochester. That aids us in the partnership with the art community, as well as serving as inspiration to those who visit our center. Like artists, entrepreneurs answer a call and are credited for looking into spaces where nothing existed and creating something that can thrive beyond them with the proper guidance once well-resourced. So I'd like to turn things over to Ebony, who can tell you a little bit more about Rock Women's Business Center.
Thanks, Tiffany. Hi, everyone. Over the past year, there's been a bit of transition at the Rock Women's Business Center, but I assure you we are committed to helping women start, grow, and sustain businesses. We do this in part by offering free services that include holistic business coaching, strategic planning, and technical assistance. As Tiffany mentioned, in re-envisioning the Rock Women's Business Center, we moved it from Platt Street home to the first floor of the Urban League of Rochester. This move gives the center more visibility while also giving our clients direct access to more resources. To assist with the vision and governance of the center, we established a new board of advisors who are excited to support our business development efforts. And lastly, we partnered with some of MCC's graphic design students to have them design a logo for the Rock Women's Business Center. So stay tuned for that unveiling. Next up, we have Mazi Bakari, Director of Entrepreneurship and Assistance Center.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Mazi Bakari, as it was said, and I am Director of the Entrepreneur Assistance Center, which is basically Urban League's economic leadership for information and resources for those who want to increase access and opportunities for MWBEs around the state and the region, and helping individuals develop themselves as entrepreneurs and small business people. Some of our highlights just recently is that we also moved. We moved to the first floor, which allows us now to have a business hub when you first walk into the center. And our goal is to have a place where people can come in, and if they feel like they may want to explore the opportunity of being an entrepreneur or just gather information, they can come right on through and we can service them. We do have a business academy, and we just started about midway through our 5th cohort. We just had a graduation for our fourth cohort. We also are focusing our energies on our business acceleration, which takes place after they finish the Community Business Academy. And we continue to promote our organization along with other entrepreneurs support organizations around the county that we're a part of. And as Tiffany mentioned earlier, we have been awarded a workforce development grant with the focus being on entrepreneurship. Next, we have Torian.
Unfortunately, Torian could not be here today because he is in an emerging leaders course in support in collaboration with the National Urban League, but he wanted me to share his highlights. In the Youth in Education program, they provided 28 project-ready students the opportunity to participate at an HBCU, and we're really proud of that. We also received an additional $450,000 in funding to support the next 6 years, and where Torian and his team are leading great work. They also are working closely with Ed Trust New York and selected us to continue our work for another year. And as you know, we've been working with Ed Trust for the last 4 years and been offered a grant to continue. And lastly, we've been participating in the Rock the Future. We are now a participant in the Rock the Future Youth Leadership Summit. Now I will introduce Michelle Sir, our new Senior VP of Developmental Disabilities and Family Services.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to just give you some quick highlights of our expanded in-home services for the elderly program, or the ISEP program. We do continue to support senior adults in our community to age in place. And we can see the success in the services that we provided because some of the clients we have been working with for over 15 years now. So that's just a true testament to the services that we provide to make sure that our elderly community can live and age in home or in place. And our very own senior care manager, Teresa Green, who was in that amazing video that you just watched, has worked with these same senior adults since she started here over 15 years ago. So what a great tribute to her and all of her hard work in helping our senior adults age in place. There has been an age shortage, but we're very happy to report that in 2022, we were able to find some clients who did need help in their home to use one-time clean through with Mary Maid. And we were able to have some receive monthly in-home assistances because of our great relationships that we have built in partnership in the community. Because of the great work that the Urban League of Rochester does with the care managers in our community, we have been recognized and mentioned in many clients' family celebrations, birthday gatherings, and even at some funerals. They are often telling the community and their loved ones about the amazing care that their family members have received. So amazing work in our ISEP program continues on, and I'd like to introduce Marcus Wade to talk about our Developmental Disabilities Division.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. I'm the director of the Developmental Disabilities Division, and I'm just going to give you a few highlights within our department. So first off, we have successfully held and will continue to hold open interviews to increase our staff, especially our direct support staff, to provide more supports to people with developmental disabilities. So far, we have 7 new staff that have started in our DD program thus far. Thanks to the Galisano Foundation, we were able to give our Dayhabilitations Kitchen a facelift, a major facelift. During a recent walkthrough with the foundation, they were very pleased with the new modern updates that were made. We're also happy to announce that during our last person-centered survey, we had 0 citations, which is a great improvement for our department. We also have had a few individuals within our programs that we have been serving for over 20 years. All of this showing dedication, that the hard work and dedication that our staff have been doing every day to run successful programs. On the next slide, I would like to give you a testimonial from one of our individuals who currently is served under the Family Care Program. So Cedric in 2021 was presented to the board and will be graduating from his vocational program, Project Search, in May. He currently interns at the Del Monte Hotel Group, where he works in their various hotels within the city of Rochester, cleaning and setting up for events and other job-related tasks. He really enjoys doing this type of work and is hoping to get full employment with them after his graduation. Speaking of family care, we're currently expanding the family care program with 4 new providers working on their home certifications. We have a new van that is wheelchair accessible. So we're hoping to start services for those individuals who require wheelchairs to transport in the near future. Lastly, we have our fiscal intermediary program through self-direction, which is officially up and running. I would like to say finally. That is officially up and running, and we are going to be on the lookout to start serving people in that program very soon. And with all of that, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Lucas, in Equity and Advocacy.
Thank you, Marcus, and good afternoon, everybody. As you heard, I'm Dr. Candace Lucas, and I have the distinct honor of working with Mr. Dan Butler and Andeshay Simmons, who are the backbone of the Equity and Advocacy Department. On the next slide, as you heard Dr. Hawkins talk about in the beginning, that addressing systemic racism is part of our strategic priorities. I like to say that starts with us in ENA. And we are I am still on my high from a successful community update that we had last night. And I hope many of you were able to join in either on Zoom or the live stream. But from all of the feedback that I've received so far, it was informative and beneficial to the individuals who joined in. We had over 200 participants on the call, and they got to hear about the updates from the RAISE Commission. As Dr. Hawkins mentioned, we were named the successor organization. We have had a successful integration working with the city and the county and our community partners. We have 8 functional community advancing recommendation teams, or CARTs as we call them, that are looking at the multiple sectors that were outlined in the RAISE report. And we have over 450 community partners that have signed up to be part of our power brokers, which is going to help us to keep the city and the county accountable for implementing those recommendations. So things are going really well with promoting the recommendations from the RAISE Commission and ensuring that they get implemented with fidelity. In addition to that, we have our Interrupt Racism Conference and Summit. So last year we had our 3rd annual Interrupt Racism Summit, which you heard Dr. Hawkins talk about. We had over 1,000 attendees, both virtually and in person. It was a collaboration with not only the National Urban League, but we had a number of national level speakers that attended this summit to help people think about how they interrupt racism in their organizations and in their everyday lives. So we are truly invested in making sure that Rochester and Monroe County becomes an equitable community through our programming. And then finally, as you heard earlier, racism is a public health crisis. We know that the Black residents of Monroe County live sicker and die younger than any other group, regardless of educational attainment or socioeconomic status. And so we need to interrupt that. And so we are happy to have renewed our contract with the National Urban League and provide COVID information. We are part of the COVID collaborative that will be moving this work forward. Although the national emergency is going to be ending in a couple of weeks, we know that this still is a vital area for us to be committed to. In addition to COVID, we'll also be working on cancer issues, which is another top mortality rate killer in our community. And we are focusing on doing this through collaborations with the African American Health Coalition, the Latino Health Coalition, and other organizations around the community. So we have a lot going on in equity and advocacy, but we are leading the way. We are modeling the way for our community to truly show them what it means to have an equity lens. And we're glad that you are supportive of us and helping us on this journey. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Ronald Washington.
Thank you, Dr. Lucas. Good afternoon, board members and team members. My name is Ronald L. Washington. I am the housing director and the manager of the home store. I am so excited to be afforded this opportunity to be able to continue and to enhance what was established back in 1994, addressing the home ownership and tenancy needs of our community. As you look down, you see there are a lot of bullet points, but the primary focus of the home store is to provide pre and post home ownership education, which is held bi-weekly as we speak. And I'm also instituting the FICO Access, teaching people about FICO and how it's instituted and tabulated. And from those workshops, one-on-one appointments for counseling services, providing the financial literacy and all of the home ownership tools so that a person can understand exactly what it takes to become a home ownership, which includes credit building, education, and also foreclosure prevention, helping to keep people in their homes. The L2P West Side, which was mentioned earlier, 41 families that are under my tutelage, and I have to make sure and be assured to help them to transition from tenancy to home ownership and providing them all the tools that you see in front of you to make sure that they're mortgageable when that time comes, when they're ready to purchase their homes. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Jamie Buss.
Hi, everyone. I am the Fund Development Officer here at the Urban League. In addition, I take care of marketing and communications efforts. And I like to tell people that I'm in charge of the fun money. So the money that isn't tied to the grants and stipulations that come with those. And part of that, well, I'm not in charge of membership, but I want to share the good news on that front, that our 2023 membership campaign raised over $78,000 in the community. Thanks in part to our church coordinator, Mary Simmons, and our local churches for raising the money that they did, our board of directors, our staff, and of course, all of you. So we want to just say thank you to everyone who contributed to the success of our 2023 membership campaign. I have the honor of sharing some upcoming events that we would love to have all of you be a part of. So as was mentioned a little while ago, we are celebrating our Black Scholars coming up on June 5th. We're recognizing all of those graduating high school seniors and their accomplishments in their academic career here in the greater Rochester area. That will be held at the RIT's Gordon Fieldhouse on June 5th. June 16th, we're very excited because we're going to have an open house and Juneteenth kickoff celebration right here at 265 North Clinton. As well as a legislative breakfast to thank those that continue to advocate on our behalf here. June 19th, for any golfers on this call, we will have, we're the proud recipient again of Farley's Friends 4-for-4 golf tournament. There's a lot of alliteration there, but it's a great day to get outside, connect with community members and other organizations that benefit from this nonprofit's work. And so we'll be at Victor Hills on June 19th. So hopefully you can join us there. As both Dr. Hawkins and Dr. Lucas mentioned earlier, our Interrupt Racism Summit is coming up September 19th and 20th. It will be another in-person and virtual event. So we'll be meeting at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center, and our team has been focused on bringing in great speakers and identifying all of the things that we hope you walk away with to do the work afterward. So that will be happening in September. The early recognition Black Scholars event, that is just recognizing all of those soon to be and up and coming Black scholars that are in 9th through 11th grade, and that will be happening in November. So looking ahead, I just want to make mention that we will be celebrating 45 years of Black scholars next year. 45 years of great work and academic achievements that have happened throughout the course of the last 45 years. And then in September of 2025, we will be celebrating 60 years of the Urban League of Rochester and the great work that we've done in those 60 years, and obviously looking ahead to the next 60 and more. All of these have opportunities for the community to take part, to sponsor, to attend, to help us make a collective impact, and we're super excited to have you join us at any and all of the events. So with that being said, I will turn it back over to Dr. Hawkins.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank the entire team for their hard work. I am really impressed with their leadership, their drive, and their commitment to our community. I also want to thank every member on this call for becoming a member of the Urban League and renewing your membership. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Dr. Cohen, who champions the membership campaign, not only for our board members, but for our community and our church community as well. And I want to also thank her son, who before COVID would go out with me to churches and help me to drive the membership campaign. So I am forever indebted to you for your hard work. And thank you for serving the Urban League of Rochester for the past 15 years. Thank you, Dr. Cohen. Dr. Gant, again, I want to say thank you to my team and to all of the board members. I am done with this part of my report.
Okay. So thank you very much to you and to your team for all your remarks. On behalf of the board, we want to thank you for your continued leadership on behalf of the Urban League and the citizens of Rochester. Since the start, you have faced a number of challenges: COVID, staff turnover, financial challenges, increased community violence, etc. Despite these challenges, you continue to lead a strong team who has assisted you in the expansion of programs, including Interrupt Racism, the Equity and Advocacy Division, and now the relocation of the Rock Women in Business Center to the URL main location. I want to publicly thank you and your team. It continues to be an honor serving at your side and witnessing your growth and passion for equity and your commitment to re-energizing the Urban League and giving it the direction that it needs.
Thank you.
Since there is no further business to be conducted in the annual meeting portion of the program, we will adjourn the business portion of the meeting.
So Dr. Gant, now I have the pleasure of sharing the following individuals who have served the league for at least 5 years. Now, these individuals acknowledge at 5-year intervals and up to 25 years. So I am excited to announce and congratulate and recognize Jonathan Compton, Nicole Gibbons, and Mary Simmons, who are celebrating 5 years at the Urban League of Rochester. Yes, they should be celebrated. I also have one special staff member, Teresa Green, who you saw in the video, in the COVID-19 video, who is celebrating 15 years at the Urban League of Rochester. So I want to just recognize her and thank you for joining me in acknowledging these individuals for their service and their commitment to the Urban League of Rochester, and most certainly their passion for this community right here. Thank you all for your service, and I will now give the floor back to Dr. Gant for his closing remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins. Again, I want to thank all of you who have taken the time to attend the Urban League's 58th annual meeting. This is a critical time in our country, and to combat the anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion movement we need to ensure that the Urban League is here to ensure people and children are equipped for economic self-reliance in the 21st century, and so that we can eradicate all barriers to equal participation in the economic and social mainstream of America. So again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all next year at this time. Thank you very much, and have a good day.